We begin here at 5 with the family sharing their grief after a mother of 6 was shot and killed in Sandusky.
To know my sister was to love my sister. My sister, she was amazing.
Anita Perry shares the good memories of her sister, Rolanda Perry-Watkins.
Her mother skills, top of the charts. Everything that she did was for her kids.
It's what she holds on to in order to keep going after losing her little sister just last week.
I'm still in disbelief, I'm shocked. I really don't know how I'm feeling. I'm just one day at a time.
On February 4th, Perry received a call from her niece that her sister had just been shot inside of their home. By the time she made it to Sandusky, Rolanda was pronounced dead, and the alleged shooter was the victim's husband.
We knew she was going through marital problems, but not to this extent.
According to Sandusky police, they were called to this home on Sycamore Street.
Sounds like the shooter's barricaded in this residence,
where they found Rolanda, who had been shot 3 times. The suspect, Perry-Watkins III, barricaded himself on the 2nd floor.
On the afternoon of February 4th, 2026, police rushed to a home on Sycamore Street in Sandusky, Ohio. Inside, they found 32-year-old Rolanda Snookie Perry-Watkins suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The mother of 6 had been shot inside her own home by her husband, 37-year-old Perry-Watkins III. Several of their daughters were there when it happened. As first responders worked to save Rolanda's life, Watkins remained inside the home. A standoff soon unfolded. Outside, flashing lights filled the neighborhood. Inside, 6 children's lives had changed forever. By the end of the night, Rolanda was dead, and a family was left searching for answers. Because for many people who knew them in real life and online, this wasn't the ending they ever expected. How did a woman whose entire life revolved around her children end up dead inside her own home? And what was happening behind closed doors in the months leading up to February 4th, 2026? Welcome to Intimate Crime Stories. Every day I bring you gripping true crime stories, disturbing case breakdowns, and the details behind the crimes that stay with you long after the video ends. If you're drawn to real cases, dark mysteries, and the psychology behind criminal acts, subscribe now and like this video as you step deeper into the story with me. Sandusky, Ohio, sits along the southern shore of Lake Erie. For many people outside the area, the city is best known for Cedar Point and the tourists who arrive each summer looking for roller coasters and lakefront views. But for the people who call Sandusky home, life moves at a different pace. Families know one another. Children grow up together. People run into old classmates at grocery stores and gas stations. News travels quickly. In neighborhoods throughout the city, daily life revolves around work, school, church, family gatherings, and the routines that keep households moving from one day to the next. It is the kind of place where people build lives over decades, where parents raise children in the same communities where they were raised themselves. And it is in that community that Rolanda Perry-Watkins is known. Most people know her by another name, Snookie. Rolanda Watkins was many things to many different people, but the role that defined her life more than any other was motherhood. By the time she reached adulthood, she was raising 6 daughters, and much of her daily life revolved around them. Their schedules often dictated her own. School activities, appointments, family obligations, and the countless responsibilities that come with raising children filled her days. There was always something that needed attention, and always someone who needed her help. The work never really stopped, but it was a responsibility Rolanda embraced fully. Those who knew her described a mother who remained actively involved in her daughters' lives. She was protective, present, and committed to making sure her children had what they needed. Whether it was handling day-to-day responsibilities or showing up for important moments, family remained at the center of everything she did. Outside of motherhood, Rolanda's personality made an impression on people almost immediately. She was known for her sense of humor, her ability to make people laugh, and the energy she brought into a room.
When people say they don't like me, I put on glasses to see if I give a fuck, and I know.
Friends and family remembered someone who enjoyed music, loved to sing and dance, and could turn an ordinary conversation into something memorable. She had a natural ability to connect with people, a quality that would eventually help her in business as well. As the years passed, Rolanda became increasingly focused on creating opportunities for herself and her family. Rather than relying on a single source of income, she explored different ways to build financial stability and expand her options. One of the paths she pursued was hairstyling. Over time, she developed a reputation for her work in the beauty industry. Hair appointments became a regular part of her schedule as clients came to her for installs, styling, and other beauty services. The work allowed her to express her creativity while also providing income for her family. Many of the women who sat in her chair became more than customers. Relationships developed, conversations continued beyond appointments, and some clients eventually became friends. As her reputation grew, so did her confidence as a businesswoman. She continued looking for new opportunities and ways to expand what she was building. At the same time, social media opened another avenue. Online, Rolanda's personality translated naturally to an audience. Her pages reflected the different parts of her life that mattered most to her. Some posts focused on her businesses and beauty work. Others highlighted family moments, funny videos, relationship jokes, or everyday experiences. Rather than presenting a carefully crafted image, much of the content felt authentic because it reflected the life she was actually living. People followed because they found her relatable. She talked about the same challenges many others faced, including parenting, relationships, finances, and the realities of everyday life. One day she might be promoting a product. Another day she might be sharing a joke. On another, she could be showing off a hairstyle she had completed for a client. Together, those posts created a picture of a woman trying to balance family, business, and personal goals all at once. Over time, her audience continued to grow. The growth did not come from chasing fame, but from consistently sharing pieces of her life with people who enjoyed her personality and connected with her experiences. To many followers, Rolanda represented determination, resilience, and the effort required to build a better future while carrying significant responsibilities. By this stage of her life, she was constantly balancing multiple roles. She was a mother raising 6 daughters. She was a hairstylist serving clients. She was a businesswoman promoting products and services. She was a content creator building an online audience. The days were busy, the responsibilities were endless, and there was rarely time to slow down. Still, she continued moving forward. While Rolanda was focused on raising her daughters, growing her businesses, and building a life centered around family, another chapter of her story was beginning to take shape. Perry-Watkins III had spent much of his life in Sandusky, Ohio. Like many people in the community, he grew up surrounded by family, friends, school, and the routines that shaped everyday life. Over the years, he developed his own interests, friendships, and goals, building a life that existed long before his path ever crossed with Rolanda's. Eventually, the two met. What began as conversations and time spent together gradually developed into a relationship. As they got to know one another, the connection deepened and became more serious. They spent more time together, built shared routines, and began imagining a future that included both of them. As the relationship progressed, they started building a life side by side. Responsibilities became shared. Daily routines became shared. Plans for the future became shared. Together, they created a household filled with the activity, noise, and unpredictability that comes with raising children. Like any family, their lives consisted of good days, stressful days, celebrations, disappointments, and ordinary moments. There were responsibilities to manage, bills to pay, children to care for, and countless decisions that came with maintaining a household. From the outside, they appeared to be building something meaningful together, while navigating the challenges that come with family life. As time passed, that family life also became visible online. Social media offered glimpses into their relationship, their home, and the life they were creating together. To those looking in from the outside, they appeared to be another couple, working toward a future while raising a family under the same roof. As their relationship became more visible online, followers were given small glimpses into the life Rolanda and Jerry had built together.
Y'all ever look at y'all significant other? Like, damn. I left all my hoes for this. Is you for real?
Videos appeared on social media showing family moments, jokes, conversations, and playful interactions between the couple. There were laughs, teasing, and the kind of familiarity that often develops between people who have spent years sharing the same home and raising children together. To those watching from the outside, they appeared comfortable with one another and settled into the routines of family life. For a period of time, that image seemed consistent. They were husband and wife raising children under the same roof, while balancing the responsibilities that came with work, parenting, and everyday life. Like many families, they had goals they were working toward and obligations that demanded their attention. From the outside, they appeared to be navigating those challenges together. But relationships are rarely defined entirely by their happiest moments. As the years passed, the pressures of everyday life began placing strain on the marriage. Responsibilities piled up, stress accumulated. Disagreements that may have once been easier to resolve became more difficult to move past. What began as occasional frustrations gradually developed into more persistent tension. The change did not happen overnight. There was no single moment when everything suddenly shifted. Instead, the distance seemed to grow over time as unresolved issues continued lingering beneath the surface. Arguments became more frequent, communication became more difficult, and the atmosphere inside the relationship slowly changed. Despite those challenges, life continued moving forward. The children still needed attention, work still needed to be done, bills still had to be paid. Daily routines continued much as they always had, and from the outside, much of the family's life appeared unchanged. Online, however, some followers began noticing subtle differences. Jerry appeared less frequently in content than he once had. Relationship-themed posts and jokes became more common. Some focused on trust, others focused on loyalty, frustration, and the challenges that come with maintaining a long-term relationship. Whether those posts reflected real-life frustrations or simply social media humor was difficult for outsiders to know. What was clear was that the marriage was facing challenges. As one month turned into the next, the issues between Rolanda and Jerry remained unresolved. The tension that had gradually developed over time did not simply disappear. Instead, it continued following them into daily life as they moved through the beginning of 2026. The new year arrived with many of the same routines that had defined life inside the Watkins household for years. Rolanda remained busy raising her daughters, managing her businesses, serving clients, and maintaining her online presence. The responsibilities that filled her days had not changed. Inside the home, however, the marriage continued struggling. The disagreements remained, the frustrations remained, the distance remained. Neither Rolanda nor Jerry appeared able to fully move beyond the issues that had been weighing on their relationship. Days passed, then weeks. Life continued much as it always had. The children went about their routines, family responsibilities continued. Another ordinary day arrived inside the home on Sycamore Street. The house was occupied, the children were present, and at some point during the day, an argument began between Rolanda and Jerry. What started as a disagreement gradually intensified. The conversation became more heated as neither side backed away. Voices rose. The tension that had been building inside the relationship for months was now unfolding inside the home while their children were there. As the argument continued escalating, a firearm entered the situation. Moments later, 3 shots were fired. Rolanda was struck multiple times. The atmosphere inside the home changed instantly. The argument was over. Now there was panic. There was confusion. There were children witnessing something no child should ever have to witness. Emergency calls began reaching dispatchers as first responders rushed toward the residence. Officers arriving at the home found Rolanda suffering from multiple gunshot wounds and immediately began rendering aid while paramedics worked to save her life. She was transported for emergency medical treatment. Meanwhile, the situation inside the home remained active. Jerry stayed inside the residence. Armed with a knife, he retreated upstairs and barricaded himself in a second-floor room. Officers established a perimeter around the property as additional resources were called to the scene. What had begun as a domestic shooting quickly developed into a standoff. Negotiators attempted to communicate with Jerry, while specialized response personnel arrived to assist. Outside, emergency vehicles filled the area as neighbors tried to understand what was happening. The children were safely removed from the home, while officers continued working to bring the situation to a peaceful end. The standoff continued for a period of time before eventually coming to an end. Jerry was taken into custody and transported for medical treatment after suffering self-inflicted injuries during the incident. While officers were resolving the situation on Sycamore Street, medical personnel were fighting to save Rolanda's life. Despite those efforts, she died from her injuries. The home on Sycamore Street soon became the center of a homicide investigation. Crime scene tapes surrounded the property as investigators began documenting evidence and reconstructing the events that had unfolded inside the residence. Shell casings, a knife, and a 9mm firearm were recovered as detectives worked to establish a timeline and determine exactly what had occurred. Witness interviews began almost immediately. Investigators spoke with the people who had been inside the home, gathering statements and comparing accounts while piecing together the sequence of events. An autopsy later confirmed that Rolanda died from multiple gunshot wounds. As the investigation continued, detectives reviewed physical evidence, electronic records, communications, and other information that could help explain what led to the fatal confrontation inside the Watkins home. As investigators continued examining the events that unfolded inside the Watkins home, they worked through the evidence piece by piece. Physical evidence collected from the scene was analyzed alongside witness statements, medical findings, and digital records. Detectives compared accounts, reviewed timelines, and worked to build a complete picture of what had happened on the day Rolanda was killed. At the same time, the criminal case began moving through the court system. Jerry Watkins III was formally charged, booked into custody, and scheduled for his initial court appearances.
You're looking at 37-year-old Jerry Watkins. Sandusky police arrested him and charged him with the shooting death of a 32-year-old woman who was in this house on Sycamore Street. Police rushed to the house after neighbors heard gunshots. It quickly turned into a tense standoff.
Upon entering the residence, officers were confronted by a male suspect, learned to be Jerry Watkins, who was armed with a knife.
Police say Watkins ran to the second floor and barricaded himself inside a room. Shortly after entering the house, they found the body of a 32-year-old woman who had been shot several times. Despite first aid from the Sandusky Fire Department, she died at a local hospital.
The autopsy was conducted this morning at the Lucas County Coroner's Office, which confirmed the matter of death was from multiple gunshot wounds.
Police say Watkins apparently tried to kill himself. He had a self-inflicted wound. You can see the big bandage on his neck.
As a result of the search warrant, a 9mm pistol was recovered along with shell casings and a knife.
Receiving a medical treatment at the hospital, Watkins now faces murder charge. He is currently being held at the Erie County jail.
As the legal process got underway, news of the case spread quickly throughout Sandusky and beyond. Many people already knew Rolanda through her hairstyling business, her entrepreneurial ventures, and the social media presence she had built over the years. Others knew her simply as a mother raising 6 daughters. As more details became public, the case attracted widespread attention throughout the community. Questions quickly followed. People wanted to understand what had happened inside the home on Sycamore Street. They wanted to know what led to the fatal confrontation, and how a family that had spent years building a life together had reached such a devastating outcome. While those questions circulated publicly, prosecutors continued preparing their case as investigators gathered and reviewed additional evidence. As the months passed, the case expanded significantly. What had initially begun with murder charges later grew into a much larger indictment. A grand jury returned additional charges that included aggravated murder, kidnapping, aggravated robbery, and several other related offenses. The expanded indictment suggested that prosecutors believed the events surrounding Rolanda's death involved more than what had initially been released to the public. As new charges were added, the case became increasingly complex and drew even more attention from those following its progress. While the criminal proceedings continued moving forward, Rolanda's family faced a very different reality. In the days following her death, relatives gathered to support one another while trying to process the loss. Conversations that no family ever wants to have suddenly became necessary. Funeral arrangements had to be discussed, practical decisions had to be made, and throughout it all, one concern remained at the center of everything else: Rolanda's 6 daughters. The girls had lost their mother, and the people closest to them immediately began working to create stability during an unimaginably difficult time. Family members stepped forward to help provide support, guidance, and care. Loved ones rallied around the children, doing what they could to ensure they remained surrounded by people who loved them.
I ain't never think that he would do that to my sister. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like, I have talked to him, I have talked to her, you feel me? Like, that, I ain't never, ever, like, nah, not that.
Have you spoken to him since?
No, I wanted to, I tried to. I actually seen him there, and I said a few things, but my main focus was getting my nieces.
Rolanda had 6 daughters, whom she deeply loved, and the family has stepped in to make sure the girls are taken care of.
I got her, you know what I'm saying? I got them babies like that. I feel like I owe that to my sister, you feel me? And I'm gonna make sure those babies is raised the way she was raising them.
Eventually, Perry says she wants to have a conversation with Watkins.
I want to know why, you feel me? Like, how could you?
But for now, her family is focusing on the kids and honoring Rolanda. They held a balloon release in her honor.
The passing of Snookie has brought this family together.
What are you going to miss the most about your sister?
I'm just gonna miss my sister overall, man, and miss watching her be a mama, you know? I'm gonna miss that.
Perry says she is grateful for how the community has stepped up. Now that she has taken her nieces in, she has shared different ways people could donate. You can find a link on news5cleveland.com. Maya Lockett, News 5.
Support also began arriving from outside the family. Community members organized fundraising efforts to assist the girls and help provide resources for the future. A GoFundMe campaign was established, and messages of encouragement and support began appearing across social media. As word of Rolanda's death spread, tributes followed. Friends shared memories. Former clients reflected on the years they had spent sitting in her styling chair. Neighbors remembered their interactions with her. Followers revisited the videos and content that had made them laugh. Many people spoke about her sense of humor and outgoing personality. Others remembered her work ethic, her determination, and the energy she brought into the lives of those around her. For some, she would always be remembered as Snookie. For 6 girls, she was simply their mother. As family and friends gathered to honor her life, memorial events were organized throughout the community. One gathering included a balloon release where purple and white balloons were released into the sky as loved ones came together to remember the woman they had lost. Stories were shared, memories were exchanged. People reflected on the different roles Rolanda had played throughout her life and the impact she had made on those around her. Again and again, conversations returned to the same themes: her dedication to her daughters, her commitment to her family, her work ethic, her humor, her ability to make people feel welcome. And while loved ones focused on celebrating her life, they were also forced to confront the reality left behind by her absence. The loss extended far beyond a courtroom or a criminal case. 6 daughters now faced a future without the person who had been at the center of their daily lives. Family members continued stepping forward to provide support and stability while helping the girls adjust to a life that looked very different from the one they had known before. Meanwhile, the legal process continued. Court hearings remained ahead. Arguments from both sides remained ahead. The expanded charges brought additional questions, while investigators and prosecutors continued preparing for future proceedings. As the case moved through the justice system, it continued drawing attention from family members, community members, and others who had followed the story from the beginning. At the center of it all remained the same question that first emerged when police responded to the home on Sycamore Street. How did a marriage that had produced a family, a home, and years of shared experiences ultimately end with Rolanda Watkins losing her life inside the place where she should have been safest? That question would continue following the case as the legal process moved forward, while the people who loved Rolanda continued searching for answers and working to preserve the memory of the woman they knew beyond the headlines. Thank you for watching Intimate Crime Stories. If you've been following these gripping true crime stories with me, make sure you subscribe because I bring you powerful, thought-provoking crime videos every single day. If this case stayed with you, there's more waiting for you here. See you in the next one.